Hello again. So, this will be my third episode for the Castle Winds series, but note that this one won't be based off of any sort of adventuring in the game that I'll be doing. This will be more of like a background type of overview, and it'll basically give you a rough idea of what this game is about and all the plot and all that. So, first things first, you should know that this game is very loosely based off of Norse mythology. So, Thor here's being referenced, and you'll see other stuff like Midgard and so forth. And basically, you should get the gist of the idea. Kobolds and giants, they're all based from their like Norse mythology or origins. So the frost giants, they come from Niflheim and all that. Anyhow, let's actually start describing the story so you can get a better gist of everything. And you should probably note this is going to be an episode with lots and lots of pausing.
No one is quite certain what happened that evil day, and the earth shook and went lashed the spires of the castle. Anyone who was close enough to know was dead, killed in the maelstrom of horror that engulfed the castle. Those far away heard the echoing boom of the giant drums, and the occasional sinister sound of devilish laughter. Rumors had been circulating in the weeks before that the king had been dealing in matters best left alone, but no one expected what actually came to pass. In the space of a day and a night, the castle of King Lifrinster was mostly destroyed. A few walls remained in the outer works, but its once proud spires were reduced to piles of rubble. As for the inner castle, which burrowed into the heart of the mountain, it was rumored to be largely intact. Few, however, were brave enough to venture beyond the forbidden gates of the castle, and even fewer returned. Even now, 2 decades later, the giant drums can occasionally be heard echoing out of the mountain, and the shade of King Lifrinster is reputed to still haunt the great hall of the castle. For the lands once ruled by the Castle of the Winds, these have been dark and evil years. Bands of goblins and ogres, occasionally led by giants, have been reigning the settlement throughout the realm. And periodically strange creatures like nightmare creations of mad wizards have issued forth from the castle to ravage the countryside. As a defense against these depredations, the people of the town of Crossroads have become skilled in producing arms and armor and in creating enchanted items. Even so, life so close to the castle is precarious at best. As time has passed, people have even noticed changes in the weather. Strange storms spring up out of nowhere to lash the lands with lightning and rain, or dry spells during the spring when all should be green and growing, as if a malevolent force was trying to control the weather, and with it work ill across Midgard. Prayers to gods have gone unanswered, despite the freak changes in weather. Even Thor has been silent. Perhaps some say the gods are helpless to do anything, or perhaps they are just waiting for a mortal to right the balance. Hiding anything from young children is difficult, for when no one is watching they have a way of getting into every nook and cranny of their ever-expanding world. And so it was that at the age of 12, you found an ornately carved wooden box hidden above the rafters of your farmhouse home. Intrigued, you examined it closely, from the intricate crown on the lid to the teeny lock that resisted your simple attempts to pick it. At last you replaced it where you found it, and continued to search the bird's nest and mice that had taken you there in the first place. It stayed in your mind, however, and you found yourself wondering as you lay down to sleep at night just what might be inside. Farm life can be hard, for there is always chores to be done, especially as the only child being raised by aging godparents. But there are joyous times as well, when the harvest is in and life slows down to contemplate the splendors of autumn beauty. And often on these crisp autumn nights you manage to coax the story out of your godfather. Sometimes he would tell legends of the gods, one of his tales of battle between Thor and giants, or the troubles caused by the trickster Loki. Other times he would tell of days of his youth, when as a brave young warrior he had served in King Lifrinster's royal guard. But this night you had another subject in mind, for the carved box had been in mind for days.
Grandfather?
You said, for while he was not truly your grandfather, he seemed as close as one.
What's in the box under the eaves?
His eyes opened wide, and he shot a look at your godmother who sat nearby. Well, he said at last, if ye be old enough to be asking, I guess ye be old enough to know. Why don't you fetch it here, child, and we'll take a look inside. Minutes later you watched with anticipation as he drew a fine chain out from under his tunic and used a small key that dangled from it to open the lock. Slowly he lifted the lid, and he caught a glimpse of gold reflecting the firelight. He reached inside and drew forth a finely crafted gold chain with a circular pendant suspended beneath.
What is it?
You asked in a hushed voice as you stared at his slowly spinning pendant, glinting in the firelight. A gift from your true father, he replied. He came to us 1,000 years ago, when the blood of 100 wounds covered his body, and the awareness of his own mortality in his eyes. He handed us a small bundle, you as an infant, and clasped on our doorstep. He woke just once before he died, and he asked us to raise you for him. He said the amulet he wore was to be yours on your 18th birthday. If you are worthy, he whispered, as his voice failed, it would lead you to fortune and glory. You watched as your godparents gently lowered the pendant back into the box and closed the lid. And so, my child, you have much to live up to. But grow strong and wise, for the Norns have reached out and touched your life, as they do with few mortals, and I feel you have need of all the talent and ability you can muster in whatever task lies ahead.
Alright, so basically that's a little bit of a plot background for you. Now, I said I'd tell you a little bit about the other stuff and cheats and all that, so let's go into that a little bit. First, you should know that the Temple of Odin has a lot of information that you can use, so if you want to learn about the spells if you play this game, here they are. Just look around in the spell list. You can also find about items, armor, even enemies. I pretty much know what they all do, basically, but even I will come from time to time to just to check out, just in case they're really strong. You can also go to the Castle of Winds overview, basically here, and you can look through it and all that. So we can go like to the Bestiary here and say you want to learn about the undead, and you can learn about skeletons and walking corpses and all that. And you can also look at other stuff, magic. That doesn't really tell you anything, but you can look at the object directory, which was what I was looking at before to learn about the items. This pretty much lists all the items, miscellaneous objects, and it's not too detailed, but it gives you an idea. And you can learn about all the other stuff here as well, but more or less you don't really need to watch it except for, you know, keyboard commands and other important stuff that you might not know as much about. Alright, so we'll just kill this right now. Now let's start a new game, and we're actually going to go cheater, and we're just, you know, just gonna mosey around a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to do things a little bit differently just to show a quick cheat that I learned fairly early in my game. I was just still fooling around and I found this out, so it's really cute. Basically, create a new character and select Magic Arrow. And of course, you start here in your town and all that. Now, select Magic Arrow and just fire. And you must be asking, why am I doing this? Wait, why are you still casting? You're going negative. Oh god, you're hurting yourself. Oh god, you're gonna die. No, stop. It's not worth it. And you just keep doing this. And doing this. I want to see how long it would take for me to die when I was initially doing this, but instead I just kept doing it, and I wasn't dying. Yet, eventually, after so many hits to the magic arrow, something odd occurred. More HP. And if you look at your character, you can actually see your constitution has gone way up. So yeah, that's a cheat for you if you really want, but you know, it's kind of, it is a cheat. There's no doubt about it. You just, okay, there's my constitution score all the way up in the stratosphere. Lots of fun. Alright, so that's one cheat you could, you know, do and all that. There's also other ones you could possibly look into. That's actually one they mentioned, but I found out myself, so I figured I'd just show it. You also hex edit, and if you want, you can like get spells and other stuff. Now, I should also note that there's also strategies for this game, much like you know, other strategies. Like, well, they're first probably developed here, but basically, here's some useful hints. Basically, tells you a bit about, you know, find a ring. Maybe you don't need it, but you know, a couple strength rings are always used for carrying stuff. Use bolts for instead of balls for, you know, singular enemies. Of course, you should take that with a grain of salt. Don't use a weak bolt like on a freaking thief, when a ball will kill it much quicker before it gets close to you. Also tells you about like phase door and all the other stuff. And I'll get to this as well, but as if you get to you know, Castle of the Winds 2, like the second episode, don't rest on dungeon level 4. You have to go do something. And that's pretty much all that. So that'll be it, I think, for this episode. Hope you enjoyed. I don't plan to save this, so we'll exit and no. And yeah, that's just this quick episode, and next episode we'll get right back into it.